Ladies and gentlemen, your host for the evening, Venom Xenomorph. Hello, everybody. It's Venom Xenomorph, and welcome back to another episode of Vex's Horror Corner. I'm really sorry that I missed out on last week's episode. I was a little bit preoccupied with some other things going on that weekend, but it's okay. I'm back with another episode, and this time it's going to be a double episode to make up for the last one. It's going to be covering two different topics today. Today is going to be Five Nights at Freddy's and Dead by Daylight. These are two franchises that I've been very channel prominent with, that's for sure. Let's cover the first topic, obviously, Five Nights at Freddy's. There is a huge abundance of news going on with this franchise right now, especially over recent days. So let's get started with the elephant in the room. They just announced the Five Nights at Freddy's movie officially starting filming. Jason Blum went out on Twitter and finally announced it. The animatronics will be featured by Jim Henson's Creature Shop, which, if you don't know Jim Henson, he's obviously the creator of the Muppets, but in terms of animatronic expertise, you're going to be looking more towards the direction of something like the Dark Crystal. A lot of the puppetry and animatronics in the Dark Crystal are definitely some of the works of the Jim Henson Creature Shop. There are other examples. Let me see if I can pull a couple of those up real quick. Wow, coming back from that research, I really thought I would come up with something else. Literally, a lot of the work that has been done by the Jim Henson Creature Shop for, different animatronics and puppetry is a lot of actually like younger audience stuff, kid-friendly stuff, that kind of thing. So there's like Dr. Dolittle and Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, the first movie, that kind of stuff. Definitely Muppets is all over the place. They did a lot of visual effects stuff as well as the actual animatronics, so I think they're just going to be completely in charge for the Five Nights at Freddy's movie when it comes down to the animatronics as a whole. And then Blumhouse is going to be responsible for everything else outside of that. I'm pretty sure, obviously, that, the Five Nights at Freddy's film is going to be way more horror than it would be a kid's project. At least I would hope so. But I'm really excited for this film. The director is Emma Tammy, I believe, and she actually created a movie called The Wind that is a bit of a psychological and supernatural horror. It's really good. I highly recommend 2018's The Wind, and it was actually a really good job. She's not known for a lot. This isn't a director that you could see. For example, I just watched the other Hellraiser, the new one, the other night, which was amazing. By the way, I highly recommend. By David Bruckner, and you hear David Bruckner, and you think The Ritual, you think, Hellraiser, you think all these different things. Emma Tammy isn't one that comes to mind, other than me actually knowing the movie, The Wind. But the other projects that she's done are kind of off the radar, and she's also writing the script for the movie, or doing the writing for the movie, and that is in collaboration, of course, with Scott Cawthon and another writer. I'm really hoping that the movie's good. I'm very excited. Obviously, we have the upcoming DLC as well. Five Nights at Freddy's Ruin for Security Breach coming out. That's going to be a free DLC in 2023. And I'm pretty sure that those are going to be like, so we have the free DLC coming in 2023, and we have the film process starting in 2023 for the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. I really think that there's going to be a lot going on for Five Nights at Freddy's next year. I think that there's going to be a lot going on, and that includes potentially a collaboration with Dead by Daylight. Now, I've been dubbed the founder of the Springtrap and Dead by Daylight movement for a while, and I'm not the founder. I was not the first one ever to come up with that idea. That being said, I do feel like I was the one that really put the ball rolling on that one, so I appreciate everyone's compliments on that. But anyway, the Springtrap and Dead by Daylight collaboration has been something that I've been working hard for a very long time on this channel, and while it hasn't exactly been possible before, now that all this stuff is happening for the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise, I really think that there is a very high shot, at least starting next year, that Springtrap could get added to Dead by Daylight. Because the thing about Five Nights at Freddy's is while the games have a stigma of being called children's games, even though they're definitely not, the movie has a chance to break that trend, and the movie could actually be very, very good. And they're adding characters from other video games as well, like Silent Hill and Resident Evil, whose film franchises have been actually terrible. Like the history for the Resident Evil film franchise has been really, really in the dumps. So, if even if the Five Nights at Freddy's movie isn't great, as long as it's better than the Resident Evil movies that have come out lately, I really have hope that that will give enough credit to the devs at Dead by Daylight to finally step up and talk to them, because they have collaborated with Blumhouse before, and Blumhouse is the one working on this movie, so it's very likely that we could see that collaboration happening. Moving on to Dead by Daylight now, though, we do have a couple of updates. So, obviously, Stranger Things will be returning to Dead by Daylight. Dead by Daylight Leaks, a couple months ago, revealed the leaks of a upcoming new Hawkins map. It looks like the Hawkins Lab, just an expanded version that's going to be a little less cramped and much more like survivor-friendly, because I remember when that map came out, it was very killer-sided. But we have that coming up, and we also have a second half chapter for Stranger Things coming out. I'm assuming the killer will be Vecna, just like how we have Albert Wesker as the second half of Resident Evil. We have an upcoming killer that is going to be a night killer, according to the leaks. It was the order, I believe the leaks were Dredge, a licensed killer that was going to be the Resident Evil secondary, and the night killer are the three chapters that were predicted before the Dredge even came out. So the Night Killer is coming out, and we recently got a leak that is actually going to be a licensed knight. Now, a lot of people have been speculating about what this knight could be. People have suggested that it could be the Black Knight from Scooby-Doo, which, wouldn't shock me. Scooby-Doo has been popping up a ton during the community, request posts, I guess, or the surveys. And, I actually think I have a pretty solid guess as to who or what could be that knight, and we've seen him before. He has appeared during one of the cinematics for one of the tomes that they've had, and I think people blew right over it because they believed that it was just a hint at a different type of killer, but it could be two and one the same. I, of course, am talking about Dracula. We saw a brief shot of the Watcher, or I don't exactly know the guy's name. I'm not a huge lore diver when it comes to Dead by Daylight. But the main guy that we've been following throughout the tomes, he did recently discover Castle Dracula and did discover Vlad the Impaler. Now, people don't always know the backstory of Dracula, so I'm going to try to break down a little bit. Well, Dracula actually used to be a knight, and used to be a knight known as Vlad the Impaler. He was a very aggressive and brutal ruler, a bit of a dictator, and because of that, I have a genuine theory that while a lot of people have been asking for a vampire killer for eons, and they had officially announced that there will be a night killer, I think they're going to be the same person. I think we might get Dracula, but the difference here is we're going to get Dracula as Vlad the Impaler, which means we could have some vampiric abilities going on, but I believe his main weapon could be a broadsword, and he could have a very knight-like aesthetic. Vlad the Impaler's backstory has been touched up on many, many times in different Dracula films. One of my favorites happens to be Bram Stoker's Dracula, when Dracula was played by Gary Oldman. That was a very insanely good performance. I really like that movie. But I genuinely believe that this Night Killer could totally be Vlad the Impaler. And we're just blowing right over it because nobody realized that that is what Dracula actually is. Everyone knows him for the vampire. No one really knows him for who he really was in real life. Vlad the Impaler is a real person. Dracula is the myth. Vlad is the legend. So I want everyone to understand, there is a likelihood that we could get Dracula added to Dead by Daylight. It's just a different version of Dracula than people are expecting. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Let me know what you think about the Five Nights at Freddy's franchise, how you think the movie's going to go. Tell me what you think is going to happen in the DLC. And then definitely talk to me about Springtrap and Dead by Daylight. I will cover more of it in the future. Don't worry. Like, don't feel like I'm just ignoring it. I'm just waiting for there to be updates. And this movie kind of benefits towards an update, so I had to cover it this time. But next time that there is an official update, I will cover in Springtrap and Dead by Daylight. And I will just continue to cover other franchises like Dead by Daylight. Let me know what you think about my thoughts on Vlad the Impaler and how he could be the new licensed night killer. But let me know in the comments down below if you enjoyed this episode. Leave a like and subscribe if you did. There will always be more of these every week. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye!